Okay, so today I will be showing you how to set up the CCA site and deploy it to Amazon Web Services. So we'll begin on aws.amazon.com and I'm going to sign into the console. So after I'm signed in, we'll see the AWS Management Console, and I'm first going to go down, click on Services, and go down to RDS database. So we need to create a database. I'll click on Create Database. I'm going to select MySQL, scroll down, and click Only Enable Options for the RDS Free Usage tier. Click Next. And scroll down. I'm going to give my database an instance identifier called CCA-DB. I'm going to give it a master username, root, and a password. And click Next. I can leave all of this stuff as default. Scroll down to database name. I'm going to do CCA-DB. Leave the rest as defaults. Scroll down to the bottom and click Create Database. So now I can click on View DB Instance Details, and it'll take me to my database page with some information. If I scroll down, it says Endpoint Not Available Yet. So while Amazon is starting up this database and configuring it, I'm going to go to part 2, and we'll come back when this database says it has been created instead of creating. Alright, so here we are in part 2. I'm at the Google Drive link to the zip file containing all of the code for the CCA site. This will be made available as a public link for those trying to set up the site. So I'm going to go ahead and download this zip file from Google Drive. And this may take a second. Alright, so it looks like I can find this in my downloads. There it is. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to Amazon Web Services, Services, and scroll till I see Elastic Beanstalk. Click on that. We're going to use Elastic Beanstalk to deploy the Django application and provision an EC2 instance. So let's get started. We're going to create new application. I'm going to give it a name, CCA. Alright, so it says no environments currently exist. We're going to create an environment here. So click Create One now. Web server environment. Django is a web application framework. We're going to stay on the web here. Click Select. We can leave the defaults here. It's going to generate a URL for us. Scroll down to Platform, and we're going to do a pre-configured platform. Django is a Python framework, so we're going to click Python. And we just downloaded a zip file of the code, so we're going to click Upload Your Code. Click Upload. Choose File. And I'm going to go to Downloads. Open. I'm going to click Upload. Alright, next we're going to configure a few more options, so click Configure More Options. Alright, so we need to configure a few more options here before we set up our EC2 instance on Elastic Beanstalk. So we're going to go to Software, Modify, scroll down until you see Environment Properties, and then we're going to type in a few environment variables that will help us connect to the RDS database. So here we go. We need RDS underscore DB underscore name. This will be the database name you gave. So mine was CCA DB, no spaces. Next is RDS username. So this will be the username you set up for RDS, which is root. And now remember, if you forget any of these, we can go back to our RDS instance, which is continuing to be set up on Amazon. So go into RDS, DB instances, we click on the database. So here's some information. Go back to creating environment. The next one we need is RDS password. So this is the password you chose. I kept mine pretty simple for now. The next one is the RDS port. We can find that back here. 3306. Finally, RDS hostname. And that's endpoint. Copy that, paste it in. Alright, so as you can see, we have our 5 environment variables that we set up here. We're going to click Save. Alright, one final thing, under Instances, we're going to click Modify, scroll down, and we're going to allow the EC2 security group to access the RDS security group. So I have a list of the different security groups under my Amazon account, and I need to connect with the current RDS security group associated with my database. So I'm going to go back to the RDS tab. And I can see here it says RDS Launch Wizard 1. So I know I should check RDS Launch Wizard 1. Click Save. Alright, you can go ahead and create environment. Amazon is going to do a little bit of work here. So it'll print out some logs below about the actions it's taking to set up our environment. We'll check back in a minute. Alright, so we're back, and you may have noticed that there seems to have been some problems with the deployment. It says health degraded. There were a few errors, so that's actually a good thing because we have a few more steps before we can completely upload this site. So we're going to go look at our EC2 instance that was provisioned with Elastic Beanstalk, because we need to allow the RDS database to connect to its security group. So we're going to click on One Running Instance. We're going to find our environment that was created by Elastic Beanstalk. And we're going to scroll down. We see our security group here. Security groups. Here's the security group created for the EC2 instance. Here is the RDS security group. So what we need to do is click on the RDS security group. We need to right click, click Edit Inbound Rules. So this allows what IP addresses are allowed to access our MySQL database. So we can allow our IP address to access it, to do any kind of debugging. But more importantly, we need to add a new custom security group to access it. So we're going to go ahead and click on Custom. Make sure this says MySQL Aurora TCP port range 3306 Custom, and then we need to go get the security group name. So we're going to go to a new tab, EC2, find our instance, scroll over or down, click on our security group, not the RDS one, but the other one. Copy the security group ID, paste in there, and click Save. So now our RDS database is allowed to talk with our EC2 instance that was provisioned by Elastic Beanstalk. So one final step that we need to take, we're going to go back to Elastic Beanstalk. And as you can see, it gave us a URL that our site will be hosted on. But when we click on this, it's not working yet. So we need to allow that URL in our allowed hosts in settings.py. So now that we have the URL, we're going to copy it. We're going to go to our zip file. We're going to open it, uncompress it, go to CCA site, settings.py. So if you can see, we have a line that says allowed hosts. These are the different IP addresses that are allowed to access our site, or URLs. We need to append this new URL to the end of the list. So you can see now we have that new URL there. You save the file. So now that we've updated and closed our settings.py file, we can go ahead and get rid of the old zip file, and we're going to go ahead and highlight all of the folders and files inside of our CCA zip folder. We're going to go ahead and click compress, make a new archive right here. You can pull it out into our top level downloads directory and go ahead and move this to the trash. We can rename this CCA zip. Oops. Zip. And now if you're doing work on a Mac, there is a Mac creates these Mac OS X attribute folders with a lot of metadata, and they end up causing problems on Elastic Beanstalk. So we can run this command zip-d and then your file name followed by 2 underscores Mac OS X / star to get rid of those files. So now we have a working zip. We're going to go ahead and upload and deploy. And name this CCA source 1. Click deploy. So now we're deploying our new version with the updated allowed hosts and the updated security groups that connect our EC2 instance, which was created by Elastic Beanstalk, to our RDS database. So as we can see, Elastic Beanstalk is updating your environment, and we'll check back when this finishes. Alright, so our Elastic Beanstalk instance has deployed successfully. We can see health OK, and so we can go ahead and click on this URL that is at the top here, and it should show us our site once it loads. So you can see health OK, and here we go. Our site is loaded. We're not logged in, so we default to the login page as intended. Alright, so that's the end of the Amazon Web Services section of the installation tutorial. One last thing we have to set up is sign in with Google. We need to update the new Elastic Beanstalk link that Amazon Web Services has given us to connect with our Google OAuth login. So we're going to go open a new tab and go to console.developers.google.com. We're going to log in with a Google account that we're using for this setup, and we're going to go ahead and create a new project. We can call this project CCA Example. Click Create. And we're going to go ahead and go down to Credentials. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead and click on CCA Example. There we go. Now we're using the right one. So we can go ahead and go to Credentials. There we go. So we need to create some credentials so users can use their Google accounts to sign in with the website, rather than creating an all new username and password with the website, if that's what they do intend to do. So we're going to go ahead and click on Create Credentials here. And we need an OAuth client ID. So first we need to set up our consent screen. It says we're going to configure consent screen. Give it an application name. We can give it a name CCA. And we need to authorize the domain of our site. So we can go ahead, copy the domain, paste. We can get rid of the end there, and the protocol, it says must not specify the protocol, so we'll get rid of that. Click Enter. We're going to go ahead and click Save. This is a web application. So we can give it a name, CCA Login. And we're going to give it some authorized origins. This is the link again. This time it will have the HTTP at the front. Also add it as a redirect URI. We're going to go ahead and click Create. Alright, so it gave us our client ID and our client secret. So we're going to go ahead and click OK. Now we can go ahead and copy this to our clipboard. We need to change two files where we insert our client ID. We're going to go to our directory, click on registration, static, JS, registration, and it's the googlebutton.js file. So we're going to go ahead and open this up to edit it. And on line 7, we can find this client ID. So we need to go ahead and copy and paste in the Google client ID that we copied from here. We can go ahead and save and close. And we have one more file we need to change in registration, views.py. We're going to go ahead and edit this down to line 87. We can see here we're specifying ID info, and we're providing it again with the client ID. So we're going to go ahead and paste that new one in there instead of the old one that was previously being used. We're going to go ahead and save, close this out. And now, as we can see before we redeploy, if we try to click in sign in with Google, we're going to go ahead and get an error because the origins do not match. We're not matched up with our new URL here. So now that we've updated our code, we can go ahead, delete this old zip file, and we can re-archive this. Move it to the top of downloads, And remember, on Macs we need to remove the, rename this CCA zip, or we need to remove these Mac OS X folders. Run this command, and now we're good to go. Back to Elastic Beanstalk, load up our environment, and we're going to upload a new version of the zip file that we just made. Call it CCA source. We're on 3 now. Deploy. Alright, so this is uploading, and once this finishes, it will deploy one more time, and will be connected with our Google login to be used. And so I'll go ahead and check back when that finishes. Alright, so we're back, and our new CCA Source 3 version deployed successfully. Held OK, so we're going to go ahead and click on the URL of our Elastic Beanstalk, and we can go ahead and see when we click sign in with Google, it allows to pick from our current Google accounts or even use a new account to sign in. So I'm going to go ahead and use one of the Google accounts that I have already signed into Google Chrome with and is saved on my computer. And it's going to go ahead and load the rest of the site. Obviously are still in development during this installation instructions period, but here's the site, and we're logged in, and we can log out. And I could even log in again with a different Google account if I wanted, and go through that whole process. So I think that concludes the installation instructions for the CCA website on AWS using Google Login. Thank you very much.